guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to talk about my 2021 media in review. This is a video I've done the last couple of years and was also a topic that was voted on by my bibliothecary community, so every month my supporters over there get to vote in a poll for a video topic that I'll do. This is one that actually carried over from Vlogmas because I thought that I was going to get to one more media related thing before the end of the year. I in fact didn't. So I could have done it back in Vlogmas, but I didn't know that at the time. So this carried over into this year since it was something that I already voted for. And this is me talking about all of the media things that aren't books that I enjoyed or didn't, and kind of reviewing all of these things from the last year. This is mostly video games, a few shows, and one movie. So I think I'm actually going to go in that opposite order. Start with the category that I did the least in and then keep going from there. So for movies and TV, most of the things that I watched fell under the Marvel umbrella, but there's a few, I'm actually remembering a few more that so there's actually gonna be more in the movies category than there is in the shows category, but I'll still do movies first. Let's just start with the worst thing. The worst thing that I at all watched in 2021 was at the very, very end and was the last thing that I watched, and that was the newest Matrix movie, Matrix Resurrection or whatever. I was going to watch the new Dune, but then saw that it wasn't on HBO Max, and so the person I was with was like, oh, well, do you wanna like watch something else? Let's watch the new Matrix movie, whatever. And I was like, okay, I wasn't planning on watching it. I could have not watched it. This was awful. This was really bad. It was basically just, we're gonna show you continuous clips from the previous films, especially the first movie, which was the best one of all of them. Why? Why are you gonna show us the best movie of all of the installments in your new movie that you know will never be able to compare to it? It was bad. The theme even, like the point, the overarching point was also just bad. And I didn't like the cinematography. I didn't really like the acting. They had some good actors in there, but they were kind of leaning more into like weird comedy. Too many callbacks to the old movies in a way that was not satisfying and that I wish movie franchises would stop doing, in fact. And yeah, even like the fight scenes looked bad. Poor Keanu looked like tired. I know that he likes playing Neo, but like, Keanu's not made for old Neo. He's not old, but you know what I mean. He was such a baby when the Matrix movies came out, I feel like. So yeah, this was bad. Everything else that I watched movie-wise was like pretty fine. I will do the non-Marvel stuff first. This is actually in no particular, well, I guess I can kind of do this in order since there's so few. I watched Practical Magic for the first time in 2021. Around the holidays, we did a little bibliothecary watch-along thing. I was doing this for like the spooky season a little bit. I've never seen Practical Magic. I like elements of it and not others. It's a very disjointed movie and honestly feels like 3 movies wrapped into one and doesn't really have like a solid theme, honestly, in my opinion. And there's parts of it that get like a little bit creepy for me. That's just a me personally thing, but like, but I love the vibes of the like house and the witchiness and like the aunts. But everything else was kind of like not quite my scene. So yeah, this was just like fine for me. Then I watched my first Studio Ghibli film, also with the bibliothecary. This was another watch along that we did. We're gonna be doing more of the Studio Ghibli movies because I've seen none of them besides this one now. So if you want to join us for occasional watch alongs of that, we're not on a schedule or anything, but that's something that is open to all members over there. But I liked this. It was so funny because I didn't know that there were certain things that I was like familiar with from just like cultural memes and stuff, and like particularly the music. The music in Howl's, like the soundtrack, pops up on TikTok as a sound, and I didn't know that it was from that. So this was like a little lovely, delightful little thing. Not like my favorite, where it's like, this is my new favorite movie, but I still really liked it, and I'm excited to watch more Studio Ghibli movies. Then for Marvel stuff, I only watched 2 of the Marvel movies that came out last year so far. That is Black Widow and The Eternals. I would say Black Widow of the 2 is probably my favorite, just because I have years with Black Widow. I really dug it. It felt like a nice enough send-off, I guess. I'm still depressed about it. It introduced Yelena. I still haven't watched the Hawkeye show, so we're gonna get to shows, but I haven't watched that yet. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It felt satisfying, and that intro song and intro, so good. As far as The Eternals, I liked parts of it. It was not perfect. I liked visually how it was. The main couple, not for me, but the 2 other side couples, particularly Gilgamesh and Thena. I know people love Druig and Makari, and I like them too, and I like Druig more than I even thought that I would, but Gilgamesh and Thena, that that is where it's at, and I hope something can happen with that later, you know, because I think there's a way to have that be a thing, because that is my ideal man right there. I love him. Then we get into shows. I only watched a few shows this year, but some of my favorites, honestly, this year. The one that was not my favorite was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This was such a letdown after WandaVision, which I will get to in a second. But it was just, it was fine. I know that there were some things that interrupted the production as far as like with the pandemic and stuff that made them change some of the plot points, which I think made it a little really disjointed. I also feel like this could have been a much better movie. They should have made this a 2.5-hour movie. It would have been great. It would have been a little bit more fast-paced. Like, it was so slow at points and like so boring to me. The themes were still good, but I think they could have been done stronger in a movie. I just wish this would have been a movie. I would never rewatch this season of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I am glad with how it ended. Like, the last episode was like my favorite one of the whole season, but I wish they would have made it into a movie. Then, two new favorite shows of all time, honestly, so I don't know which one I would rank higher. I don't know. One I have more of a history with due to like knowing the world, and that is obviously WandaVision, and then Arcane. So I'll talk about WandaVision first because that happened sooner, but these are pretty much equal in my head as far as some of the favorite things that I interacted with in 2021. WandaVision was so good. I love that it was like shorter episodes that made me able to get into it. Overall, as a show, I could see myself rewatching it, like how masterfully it was done in its storytelling. I like that it had really good foreshadowing. It wasn't like a gotcha. It was more so like the things that it laid out were sort of like realistic, and it wasn't like we're trying to sort of pull a fast one on you. So it was really satisfying in its foreshadowing. I like what it set up for the rest of phase 4. I love all of the like emotional connections and beats. I love the nostalgia of it tying it into sitcoms. I love Vision and Wanda, so like that was just a gut punch. So emotionally impactful. Agatha as a character is amazing. I also really enjoyed this participation in fandom that was happening at that time because I was watching it when everyone else was watching it, and this felt the closest that I've gotten to a long time to like a Game of Thrones type feeling of like everyone's watching something at once and we're all discussing. It was so good. And like the theorizing, so like that just whole watching experience was really, really fun. So I think ultimately, with that being said, that was probably like my favorite of all the shows, but Arcane is so close. I am not a League of Legends person. Most people I think that have watched Arcane are not actually, but Arcane was one of the last things that I watched in 2021 and is beautifully animated. The themes are so good. The voice acting's amazing. The fight sequences and the combination of the like 3D animation with 2D, it is so, it's pretty. All of the like the character dynamics are so good. It's excellent storytelling. It is so excellent. And again, both WandaVision and Arcane are shows that I would rewatch and likely will rewatch. And I don't usually rewatch. I'm not a, a rereader and like a rewatcher. Like I don't do that. So saying that is really something because these were like 5-star experiences for me. And lastly is video games. Let me actually go through and rank these worst to best because I played a lot of video games because I started playing on Twitch. So if you're not familiar, and I'm sure most of you are if you're watching me over here, but I stream on Twitch. These days I stream once a week on Sunday afternoons. It's really chill and fun. So that is why I've played so many games this year in contrast to previous years, because typically speaking I've always been more of like a narrative story player, and this year I did a lot of that, but also some of these other like farming sims and things like that that made it so I can play way more this year. Okay, I have a ranking. I played 8 games this year. I might have forgotten something, but I think that's it. Number 8, the bottom of the list would be Calico. This is a super cute game, but just is not well finished enough. You're basically this magical, almost like chibi looking character that you can create who is running a cat cafe. And there's like also sort of like magic and stuff involved. I played it for one session on stream. I might go back and eventually like play more, but it's mostly a series of fetch quests, and then you're kind of like getting animals, not only cats, but other animals to put in your cafe. But a lot of the storyline makes you decorate your cafe in a way that's like not cute and aesthetic, which kind of ruins that point. And it's just a lot of like going one place to another and fetching things. So it's not as fun as it could have been. That was really disappointing because it's very cute. Number 7, this might be a little bit shocking to people that watch me on stream, but it's not that I didn't enjoy this game. Just of all of the games that I played, this is just lower on the list as far as like overall like love for it. But that is Pokemon Sword. This was my first Pokemon game I've played since Pokemon Stadium back on the N64 and Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy Color. So it's been a while, and I have not really ever, I don't even know if I finished Game Boy Yellow ever, so I've never like played through a whole like story of a game. I've not finished Pokemon Sword yet, so should I even be talking about it? I don't know, but I don't see it like being the ultimate story or anything like that. It's super cute. You can collect some super cute Pokemon. I'm still overly invested in the Gen 1 Pokemon because that's what I grew up with. So do I like having a full team of evolutions? Absolutely. But this is cute, and I do overall really like just the Pokemon community, and it's been really fun to stream this. Then we have another game that I'm not finished with, but I don't necessarily feel like I need to rate some of these games based on like story, because it's not really about story for some of these. But that is Graveyard Keeper at number 6. I really like Graveyard Keeper and I want to keep playing more of it, but I played it a lot during spooky season. This is a sort of like farming sim, but it's more like it's a graveyard sim where you are running a graveyard in medieval times, but there's a lot of these little like side quests and people and things that you're trying to like kind of deal with, and it's a little gross because you are like you have the farming and the building and all the stuff that you have in a lot of games, and it all takes multiple steps, which I actually find really satisfying. Like, you have to have these 5 things to make this thing, to then make this thing, to then make this thing. I like that kind of vibe. It feels very satisfying to me. But then there's also just like a lot of, you do actual autopsies. You don't see it like really, but it can be a little bit gross feeling. You do like alchemy, you're building up this like church and trying to get faith and stuff. There's witches and there's also witch hunters, and you don't really pick a side. The game doesn't let you. I wish it did, which is probably why it doesn't get a little bit higher of a rating, but it's less about story. If we're comparing it to other farming sims, it's less about the characters than like a Stardew Valley or something would be, and more just kind of about like the tasks and stuff. But I find it really fun, and it's something for me to get like sucked into kind of doing mindless stuff on. Number 5, and only because I haven't finished it, so I might include this again in 2022 when I've like fully wrapped it up, but I did want to mention it because I did spend a lot of time playing it in 2021, and that is Spiritfarer. This is one of my favorite games I've ever played. Like I said, I just haven't finished it, so it probably can't be higher than some of these ones that I've like finished the full storyline. But in this, it's a very cozy, quiet, chill game, and you are ferrying spirits like essentially to the afterlife, but you have this like, you take over for Charon, like the actual, like the ferryman, and you are ferrying them. Like, you have to basically do stuff so that they feel like they can pass on. It is so sweet and so nice and sad, and like it's good. It's very like bittersweet, but I've only had like 3 or 4 maybe top spirits crossover so far, and I've just kind of like taken a break from it because one of my favorites recently like fully died, and I'm like sad because you can't prevent it. Like, they're supposed to do that, but yeah, it's definitely like a grief journey. Then number 4 would be Stardew Valley. I finally played Stardew Valley. This was the first game that I streamed on Twitch, so I have a very soft spot in my heart for it, and I got into, I think, about year 4. I haven't done a full completion. I might return to it in the future, but I got married. I have like my islands and my house and my farm and like most of my stuff, so I finally got to a point where I almost got burnt out on it because I was playing it all the time. But I dumped so many hours into this game, and it is very satisfying, and I'm highly looking forward to Haunted Chocolatier, which is by the same creator, when it comes out hopefully this year, but probably not for a couple of years. Then we're getting more into like some of the story-based games. Number 3 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This was so fun. I wish this game was longer. I played this towards the beginning of the year, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It's a very satisfying game. Like I said, I wish it was longer because I played it after a bunch of games that I played that were like very long games with a lot of like side quests and stuff, but it's, you're a Jedi, and it's during like the original sort of trilogy, maybe a little bit before, but like Vader is still around, and you are like a youngling that kind of escaped, and like you have your little droid. Like, it has all the components of Star Wars that I love as far as like the grand scope, but also like a little bit off of the main story, with a little bit of overlap to the main story, but and the droids and everything. It's a very satisfying story, and I'm looking forward to continuations of like that series. Then number 2 is Ghost of Tsushima. This is such a good game. This is a like historical action game, and you're following a samurai from a samurai family, and just all of this like war period stuff, and it's so good. You're traveling like around Japan and stuff. It's amazing. I can't go into like too much detail because yeah, but the mechanics are really good. The samurai stuff is really good. The characters and the story is awesome. Jin as a main character is amazing. It's really satisfying, and I almost 100%ed that game as well, if I might have actually. I'm not a big completionist when it comes to these kinds of like story, you know, like single player story games. I don't tend to like complete every achievement, and I may have or gotten very close to in this game, which says how much I love it. And my favorite game that I played in 2021 was Hades. Hades is a game that I played on stream as well, and this is a roguelike story game where you are the son of Hades trying to escape the underworld, and along the way you're being helped by the gods of Olympus and given powers and things. And what's fun about it, I've never played a game like this, is that every time that you basically do fail, so you continue to die and go back to the start, and every time the game sort of resets, you get new abilities and things, so like you don't keep your same abilities like every time the combination changes, and it gets to a point where like you're reliably able to like make it way farther than you ever thought that you could, and you get so much story like every time you go back to the beginning. It is so good. So like you get so much story. I'm not completely finished. I'm finished with the main storyline, but there's some side things that I'm still gonna finish either on or off stream. I'm not really sure, particularly with like relationships between characters, but there's so many like iconic, again, Greek mythology figures. I don't like the personification of Hades in this, however, I'll allow it. Everyone is beautiful. I simp over hot gods in there so much. I have done a tag on my other channel, a booktube sort of tag around Hades, if you want to go watch that. Ares is my favorite, I think, of all of the gods, although I also really love Dionysus a lot. I'm obsessed with it. So, oh, and Thanatos, like, yeah, it's just, it's my favorite thing. So I'm looking forward to fully finishing up all of the side quest stuff in Hades in 2022. So that is it for all of the other media that I engaged with in 2021, mostly video games. That'll probably continue because, again, I am streaming now, and there's a lot of really good games coming out in 2022. Especially like narrative type ones. So much. So comment below, let me know some of your favorite games, movies, TV shows that you watched, played in 2021. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.